Just over 100 miles south of Pyongyang, the South Korean capital, Seoul, couldn't provide a more dramatic contrast. While the North remains mired in the beliefs and limitations of the last century, South Koreans rejoice in the inventions and the gizmos of today.
If I find this country baffling, imagine what it must be like for some 3,000 North Koreans who arrive here every year from the most isolated, uninformed and unconnected country in the world.
Maybe Garam, who fled from the north, was always a South Korean at heart.
Hey, look at this, a cake shop. Should we go in here?
She was arrested for listening to tapes of South Korean music at home and managed to escape before being transported to a labor camp. She arrived a year ago and still can't believe it.
There is so much to eat. You can eat when you like, but in North Korea you can't find food you'd want. We only eat meat twice a year on special days, like Kim Il-sung's birthday. We were told that people in the south were so hungry and they rummaged through rubbish bins and carried old tins with them to collect food in.
She took emergency measures in case she didn't make it.
If we were caught by the police, then we would have been sent back to North Korea, which is like a death sentence for us. There'd be no point in going back to live like an animal. That's why we travelled with poison, so that if we were caught, we'd take it and kill ourselves.
We met with another group of recent arrivals. We showed them a bit of what we'd seen in the north, like the kindergarten with its indoor fairground.
Thank you.
And how we were invited into a typical house.
No, we didn't have that much food. I noticed bananas. I never saw bananas in the north. That table was prepared in advance because you were coming. It's all lies.
The kindergarten kids, they don't appear to have any health problems, and no ordinary kindergarten looks like that. To the north of Pyongyang, things are very different. There's no room to play inside, only outside. And the children are very thin and malnourished. There are hundreds of street children, homeless children, just living and dying on the streets.
And what about the worship of the great leader?
From the youngest age, from nursery school, all your life until you die, you're brainwashed. I thought he was God, and that Kim Jong-il was the son of God. Now I think completely differently. What do they mean by saying he's a god? He's just a normal person.
Many North Koreans have been living here for years. Men like Ha To-kung feel a responsibility to those left behind.
암시장에서 거래되고 있는 달러를 회수하기 위한 목적이 있었다는 것이죠.
They send radio broadcasts with news of the outside world, which can be picked up only on the perimeters of the country, but at risk.
보편적 정례 검토에 대해 발표했습니다.
Those detected by the so-called Electrical Wave Inspection Bureau are sent to rehabilitation centers, forced labor camps, like this one filmed secretly in the north.
So they are detained in this labor training camp, and they wake up early in the morning. They're brought out of the prison and forced to walk on the street or on this roof.
Those charged with more serious political crimes get sent to a gulag.
According to gulag survivors, in Korea we have tens of gulag survivors, about 200,000 people only in the gulags. And other than gulags, there are labor training camps, rehabilitation centers, including all those prisons, I see about 1 million people are detained in the prisons.
That's almost 1 in 20 of the population are being detained.
About 5 to 10% of the whole populations.
Diplomats and human rights organizations concur, claiming that many hundreds of thousands are detained. Mr. Ha gets news from the north by calling contacts living on the border with China, from where they can pick up a mobile phone signal. We've disguised this man's voice to protect his identity.
여보세요?
In North Korea, food is treated like a state secret. People get government rations, but they're not enough. They depend on private markets to survive. But, we were told, the government plans to shut them down. What do the young people think will be the future? Why aren't people rebelling?
그걸 한다는 자체는 자기만 죽는 게 아니라
If you rebel, it would not only result in your death, but your family will be punished. Because the risk is so great, not many people try.
선뜻 그 일을 하기를 싫어하죠.
This young man should know he escaped here after his father, an army officer, attempted a coup and was executed. He says that the rest of his family was sent to a gulag.
But society there should be changed. It should collapse so that everyone there can be rescued.
People are listening more to what is happening in South Korea and China and in the outside world. Illegally on the radio, in their own homes, and so their understanding is changing gradually. So I wonder if that is the way that things are going to change.
But back in North Korea, only those who live in the border areas have any link to the outside world. In the rest of the country, there is no contact. There's no civil society, no churches or trade unions of the type which brought down the communist regimes of Eastern Europe. In the capital, Pyongyang, they celebrate the great leader's birthday. An extravagance of fireworks entertains the chosen few. Only those with an untarnished political background can live in the capital city, and they all know who to thank for the spectacle.
Our great father, he founded our country and he brings us happiness.
Elsewhere in the country, if people are lucky, as those who've escaped told us, they may get a rare ration of meat to celebrate the birthday, but without electricity, they'll eat in darkness. But living next door to South Korea, one of the most communications-aware countries in the world, how much longer will it be possible to keep these people in the dark?